Please be seated, everyone. Good evening, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to full council meeting. We'll make a start, if that's okay. Item 1 is apologies. Ash? Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm Councillor Aslam as well.
Thank you. Councillor Mahmood?
Thought it was quiet.
Apologies from Councillor Mohammed Iqbal, was away on holiday. Councillor Zafar Ali and Mohammed Saqib were both on a graduation event. Riyaz Bashir and Faraz Ahmed.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Just so members are aware, there's been a request for an urgent item, a motion. It's to do with local government reorganisation. In view of the decision we've had and the importance of it, I've allowed the motion. So that'll be the last item on the agenda. Okay. Item 2, declarations of interest. Does any member have a declaration? No? Okay, thank you. Oh, Councillor Mood.
Yeah, there's a motion on the NHS corridor care. And I work for mostly the local NHS trust, and so I would like to declare interest, but I don't think it's a pecuniary one.
Thank you. Next is announcements from the Mayor and Leader. Minutes, apologies. Yeah, item 3, minutes of the Council.
Mr. Mayor, move the
Move them.
minutes. Correct.
Thank you. The second, thank you. All those in favour, please show. Against? No, that's fine. That's carried. Thank you. Okay. Item 4, announcements from the Mayor and Leader. I've just got a few words to say, if that's okay. Colleagues, in my mayor-making speech back in May, I promised to serve this borough with humility, dedication, compassion and pride. I've been trying my best to deliver on these promises. Humility. I was humbled to attend the open day at Marsden Grange Care Home on 9th of July and to see the dedication and compassion the staff show every day in supporting their residents. I was also humbled and delighted to chat with the residents, including one wonderful lady who celebrated her 95th birthday. Hearing their stories and sharing those conversations was a real highlight of my visit. Dedication. I'm absolutely dedicated to my mayoral role in every sense of the word. On Saturday, 11th of July, I officially opened the Home Start in East Lancashire with Pendle Leisure Trust Family Fun Day, which was a fundraiser for Home Start to support local families. This event was a fantastic example of partnership working in Pendle between Pendle Leisure Trust and Home Start in East Lancashire. The support to local families in terms of healthy lifestyles and improved mental health is so valuable. As a father myself, I know that today's children are our future. Such was my dedication to duty that I agreed to join in a game of football with some young lads in suit and chain on a very hot day at this wonderful charity event. Compassion. The 3 mayoral charities chosen by myself and the Mayoress are East Lancashire Down Syndrome Support Group, Pendleside Hospice and the NK Foundation, which helps deliver charitable projects in the UK and across the world. Each of these 3 charities are the definition of compassion in action. We very much hope you will support us in our efforts. Pride. I was honoured and proud to be invited to a soft opening of Pendle Community High School and College's Vocation, Education Centre and Cafe, Bay Leaves Cafe on Barkrhouse Road in Nelson on the 25th of June. Over the past 3 years, the space has been carefully renovated and learners have been supported in developing the skills, confidence and experience needed to operate a high-quality, community-focused facility. The aim of the centre and cafe is to offer a welcoming environment where students can gain real-world experience and showcase their talents. This initiative reflects Pendle Community High School and College's commitment to providing meaningful vocational pathways and strengthening the connection with the community they serve. This is just a snapshot of a few of the many mayoral engagements I've undertaken in Pendle since the start of the mayoral year. There have been so many wonderful events, including Lancashire Fire and Rescue, King's Trust Community Project Handover, Eid in the Park Festival, Corn Grand Prix, Corn Gala, Armed Forces Day flag raising, Councillor Dorothy Lord's Danceability Disco for adults with learning disabilities, Pendle Festival of Culture, Pendle Business Awards, and launch of a Life Skills Cafe, to name just a few. It is an honour to be Mayor of this wonderful borough. We all share pride in Pendle. Thank you. Mr. Leader.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you'll be aware that this morning the government has announced its decision on local government reorganisation in Lancashire. Under the plans, 4 new unitary councils will be created, replacing the country's existing 15 councils. The new unitary will be called Pen and Lancashire, and Pendle Borough Council will join with Burnley, Rosendale, Hyndburn, Blackburn with Darwen councils. Subject to parliamentary approval, this decision represents the biggest change in local government in more than 50 years. We are naturally disappointed that the government has not reached the decision we were hoping for. Our proposal was to have Burnley, Pendle and Rosendale coming together as one council to give a very strong locality and the natural geography of the area. But we made a strong case on behalf of Pendle residents, businesses and communities. We respect the outcome. Our priority now is to work constructively with Burnley, Rosendale, Blackburn, with Darwen and Hyndburn councils to ensure that together we establish a unitary council which will continue to provide the best possible services. We will continue to work hard for the Pendle community so that our area's interests are fully represented as the new council is created. Together we will promote growth, inclusion and prosperity while respecting the identities, history and geography of East Lancashire. We will build a financially strong council for the future, one that is responsive to local needs and focused on delivering better outcomes for residents, businesses and local communities. The new unitary council will assume responsibility for all local government services in their areas once the changes are implemented. All councils have been working together to do the necessary preliminary work to prepare for this, and there is a team ready to implement the changes needed for the new unitary councils going live on 1st of April 2028. The Minister this morning said that the new unity for us in Pen and Lancashire, there will be 95 councillors, which was in our original proposal. And they've taken into 4 different key things into consideration while they made this decision about the local identity, about the community, alignment with the economic geography and devolution. Like I say, we disagree with the generally with the new the new local LGR, but it is what it is, and we will work, like I say, constructively with our other neighbouring authorities. The process now involves a bill going to Parliament around November time, for that bill to be passed around February-March time in 2027, and then also there is the implementation and transition process. There will be elections held in May 2027 to serve the new council, which will be completely separate to us as Pendle Borough Council. And like I said, the transition date is May 2028. In regards to the mayoral elections for Lancashire, the Minister this morning said that no decision has been made at this stage.
Thank you. Item 5, question or notice from the public to the Leader, if any. There was a question, but the gentleman who was going to ask the question hasn't attended. Okay. Item 6, questions or notice by members to the Leader, a committee chairman or a representative on an outside body on matters not otherwise on the agenda, if any.
on notice.
On notice, yeah, they're not, no, okay. So there's no questions, yeah, that's... Item 7, report by the leader on the work of the executive.
May I move the report?
The report, okay. Any speakers? No? Okay, thank you. Item 8, annual scrutiny report 2025-26. Mr. Leader?
Mr. Mayor, I do apologise. Maybe in my announcements, I also wanted to welcome Jane Watson back to Pendle Borough Council. She's had a little sabbatical, if you will, from our borough. But she's back home, so something's come back home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. So item 7, any speakers?
Church. Oh, sorry.
Councillor Church?
8. Councillor 8. Sorry, item 8.
Item 8, sorry. Item 8.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a brief summary of the reports of matters going on throughout the year, which have already been reported individually. So I submit without further comment.
Okay. Anybody want to comment or speak on this item? No? Everyone's quiet today. Okay. Item 9, representatives on outside bodies. So 9A, this is Lancashire Police and Crime Panel representative for Pendle. So we gave our nominations at annual council, and Blackburn with Dorvan Borough Councils have informed us that an independent member from Pendle is required as the council's representative for 2026-27, and the nominee appointed is Councillor Faraz Ahmad. Okay, that's just for noting. Yeah. Okay. B, Pendle Public-Private Partnership with Liberata. It's just to notify the council for information purposes that the Pendle Community Independents have replaced Councillor Hanif with Councillor Mohammed Iqbal on Pendle Public-Private Partnership with Liberata. Okay. And the third one, Pendle Hill Landscape Partnership Board. This was where we had put forward Brian, the Deputy Mayor Brian Newman, and the group no longer exists.
So that's correct.
That's correct, yeah. Yes. So there we go, okay. So item 10 is to consider the mayoralty. The council is advised that the Deputy Mayor for 2027-28 is to be selected from the Pendle True Independence group. Okay. Do you want to give the nomination?
No, I think it's just for information.
It's just for information. So, okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Item 11, notices of motion, planning reforms. Councillor Mahmood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, for generations, planning committees. Mr. Mayor, for generations, planning committees have been one of the most visible ways in which local people see democracy at work. The residents elect councillors to represent their communities, listen to local concerns, and make a balanced decisions on planning applications in public. Schedule 2 fundamentally changes that relationship. Under the new arrangements, many planning applications will be presumed by and decided by planning officers unless they meet a specific gateway test, agreed jointly by the head of planning and the chair of the planning committee. This significantly reduces the ability of elected members to determine which applications receive public scrutiny by the committee. It weakens democratic accountability. It reduces local representation. Councillors possess detailed knowledge of their communities that cannot always be captured in planning reports. They understand local traffic issues, flooding concerns, infrastructure pressures, and community sentiment. Restricting committee involvement risks losing that valuable local perspective. It diminishes the transparency. Planning committee meetings are held in public, allowing residents to hear debates, ask questions through public speaking arrangements, and understand why decisions are reached. Current proposals will inevitably mean fewer opportunities for public scrutiny. Mr. Mayor, for that reason, I move the motion as set out.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Hanif.
with his daughter and then with his sister at the graduation. Fantastic day, and we all sitting here in this humid building. To be honest, I don't know what to say with this. This is shocking. I don't know what the government is thinking. We know planning needs to be changed, and we know, but this fundamental change is beyond belief. Because I was talking to the officers and I said to them, look, in Blyfield and Area Committee, how many applications would have come if this had been implemented? And I think Neil said about 230, 250 applications came, out of which if this was implemented, 3 would have come, the rest have gone to the officers. Which world? Why are we all here for? We're here, one of the key reasons we're here is look after our area. Planning is a key important part of it. We might disagree with it, that's fine, that's fair. We might disagree with officers, we might disagree with each other, but that's the choice we make in this house. And so to be honest, Chair and Mr. Mayor, this really is, and I've spoken to the MPs, Oliver Ryan in particular, because he's my MP, I'm from Blyfield. Would you believe a lot of the councillors in the country didn't know about this? I had to tell him, I sent him our paper, I said, this is a published paper for Pendle, could we have a look at this? And he gave me, I don't want to be giving you all the blobby, obviously told me, okay? So I said, listen, when this new Prime Minister comes over, could we look into this, please? But this, literally from our side, is unacceptable. Not just Pendle councillors, you talk to Blackburn, they feel the same. Now I've spoken to Blackburn councillors, Hindburn councillors, Burnley councillors, Bradford. I've spoken to a lot of people who are mates and who are councillors. They all feel the same. So it's not just about Pendle here. This is across the patch. Mr. Mayor, how can, and even the officers don't agree with this. It's not, yes sir, even the officers don't agree with this. So obviously I second the motion. Can I suggest one amendment, if you don't mind? I've just read it. It says the council resolves the number 1, right to both Pendle MP. I would ask right to Oliver Ryan because it's obviously Blyfield, Reedley and Clover Hill is in his patch. And obviously the more voices are raised in Parliament, the better it is for us.
Yeah.
Is that, yeah?
Yeah, but I think that's what it's saying. We right to both the MPs.
It just says right to both Pendle MPs.
Yeah.
Just include.
Yeah. But,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, but because he's Burnley, Blyfield and Paddington, that's why. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Sutcliffe?
I thought you were shaking your head at me then, Dean. I'm going to try and stop me. I'm happy to support this. I think it's really important that people have a democratic right to get involved with planning in their areas. And I think it also comes with an incredible responsibility to do the right thing according to the policies that we've created as a council. And that brings me on to something very, very important. In Pendle, we have our local plan. We created that as a council. Some of us fed into it. And particularly from Colne perspective, we were very specific about things that we wanted to see in there because, like Councillor Hanif has said, local people want to be involved and see their wishes reflected in their planning decisions. And we have done that by making sure that some of the things that we really care about are written into the policies of this council. So, yes, I agree with it, but also we must, when we sit on any sort of planning decision, make sure that we're going through that policy, applying it properly, because usually by doing so, we can still achieve what we need for our residents. So I'm happy to support this because I think it's important we're involved, but we can also use the tools at our disposal as well. Thank you.
Anybody? Councillor Stone?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will also support this motion and echo the comments of Ash and others. We live in one of the most centralised modern democracies in the world. And this government preaches local government devolution, but this bill, or this act, is actually increasing centralism. It is very, very bad for democracy. We know that we have reduced participation in local government elections, and this act will simply further reduce participation locally in the planning process. Scrapping committee referrals lowers the barriers for developers quite intentionally and it raises the barriers for residents and citizens to get involved and have their say. And that is a lamentable situation. Thirdly, I'd say there's also an accountability gap. Officers, we have very professional officers and officers who will do the job to the best of their ability. But to pretend that officers will be immune to pressure from developers is, again, incredible. Officers will still face the same pressures that councillors face, and officers are not accountable or elected officials. And again, that further estranges residents from the planning process. Legitimacy and implementation. There is a potential risk here as well that these planning proposals, particularly some of the big ones, will go through, they will be forced through, but they will not have local buy-in, and therefore they may face further problems down the line from citizens who actually have to find other ways, other outlets to dissent from decisions that have been foisted upon them by remote council officers or indeed in some cases the government appeal. And fifthly, I'd like to highlight that there are real equity concerns, particularly with some of the larger infrastructure projects that the government intends to force through. The benefits of large infrastructure or housing projects are diffuse, but the costs are very local. And that, again, builds on an inequitable situation, foisting the costs upon local people whose chance to have a say through their elected officials is vastly diminished. So, Mr. Mayor, I thoroughly support this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Iqbal.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Mayor, in Pendle, I think we are blessed with green space. Not only from starting off from the far side of Pendle, Ridley, all the way across to Barlick, Bonolswick. Because we are blessed with green space, we do have planning applications across the borough where residents refuse or object, and we as councillors represent their views. And I've been on the Development Management Committee, Mr. Mayor, for as long as I've been a councillor. And what we always told in these planning meetings is that common sense does not apply to planning laws. And we can see that sometimes in some of the recommendations that come through, but we as councillors can bring that common sense in. We can look at the residents' concern, we can look at what the officer's recommendations are, and look at the local plan and make a decision based on what our local community wants. Because if this power is taken away from councillors, what is the point of having local councillors if we can't even, if someone knocks on our door, rings us and says, there's a planning application next door to me, or there's a planning application behind my house, where all the community is against it, but we want you to object. We say, look, we can't do anything. We can't even call this in to have a discussion, because what will happen is large part of the planning applications that come through the door of Pendle will get decided by planning officers without any input from councillors. And I was reading the draft statute. What it says is that there'll be a lead councillor, that if that lead councillor can object, but ultimately it will be the planning officer who will have the ultimate decision as to whether that decision is called in or whether that determination is made. And as I think it was Councillor Ash or Martin Stone that said that, I think it was Martin Stone, that said that officers are not accountable to the public. We are accountable to the public. And if there was to be a planning appeal, for example, then if there's a cost associated with that, we as councillors are held accountable. So this, in my view, just simply will not work. We've had this before, if you remember, Mr. Mayor, I think you were a councillor then, when the planning reforms were tried by this council itself, and we locked horns for a number of months. We couldn't agree on something because initially the suggestion was that someone from a councillor from another part of Pendle that does not represent that ward will make a determination on the planning committee. planning application, which again, we said is not democratic, because how can a councillor who's not elected in an area, doesn't understand the area, make a decision on an item which he has no experience or familiarity with? And the final point is this, Mr. Mayor, is that officers do get it wrong sometimes, as do councillors. I remember an application that I refused, and on the management committee we led the campaign to refuse this planning application against council officer advice. It was about 36 houses in Reedley. The developer appealed, and the planning inspector agreed with the councillors. So, as I say, when there's a system of accountability, so if an officer makes a decision, as councillors we can step in and say, hang on officer, during a public meeting, we don't think that's right, can you explain that point of view as in your report? If these reforms go ahead, that's been taken away from us. We can't do that. The public can't do that. And my view, Mr. Mayor, is that that is not democratic, and I will wholeheartedly support this motion, and I think the government should definitely look into reconsidering their position. In terms of what the motion actually says, and the resolution, which is to write to the MPs, this perhaps crosses over in the one of the urgent items which is coming on the motion. We can do that, Mr. Mayor, but reality is this deal is done. It's going to come in effect later this year. If the MPs, and there's probably 4 or 5 MPs in this new Pennine Lancashire area, and I think I'm getting close to the time, if they can't convince their own government with something that they actually want to object to, this something which is already done, it's already sealed, how can we expect anything else? So, Mr. Mayor, I'll finish on that point. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yep.
Everything that has been said since. At one fell swoop, this removes democracy again from all of us. There is little point in us being councillors if we cannot help with the area that we are. It takes away everything that we know and how we've dealt with things going forward. There are certain plans that are going to impact areas now that we now know of that very likely won't even come before us or a nominated officer, because it will go straight to the person who's the environmental officer, and it's just one vote down in London, and that is an absolute ride over of all the democracy that we all sit for here. And I think that that's an appalling state. So yes, I agree entirely with this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other speakers, we'll go to the vote. So we've got one recommendation to support the motion on the table. All those in favour, please show. Anybody against? No. So the motion is carried. The second motion is promoting tolerance and cohesion across Pendle. Councillor Yvonne Tennant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors. I'll just run through the motion quickly and then I'll speak to it. The motion is that Council notes the peaceful coexistence over decades of Pendle residents from diverse backgrounds. Council notes with concern the recent incident in Briarfield, which led to false speculation being spread by certain people trying to create community disharmony. Council commends all those people across Pendle who work every day to promote tolerance and cohesion. Therefore, Council resolves to request all elected members to work together in the best interests of Pendle, and to ask the Chief Executive and Leader to arrange a multi-agency meeting to discuss on further ideas to promote tolerance and cohesion across Pendle. I'm really proud to move this motion. I moved to Pendle just short of 23 years ago and was delighted to become part of such a diverse, friendly and welcoming community. Of late, I've begun to see an unsettling change in this, a change which is largely down to the spread of misinformation on social media and through some elements of the media in general. The incident in Briarfield was shocking. It was just one of several incidents in Lancashire, and indeed in Pendle, which were fanfared as hate crimes or terror attacks. when they were nothing of the sort. But of course, the social media experts were in there before the police had even issued a statement. Psychological research shows that the old adage of if you repeat a lie often enough, then people will begin to believe it to be true. And this approach has been used for many years by those who wish to divide us. Those who wish to divide us are now using social media to push their untruths. Outside of Pendle, but relevant to this, is the recent incident of a Muslim woman in Grimsby who tried to capture an injured young seagull so that she could get help for it. It was put out on social media and even in the press that she was attacking the bird, with one headline even claiming, "Muslims are eating our birds." It's absolutely ridiculous. However, I truly believe in what the late Joe Cox MP said, that we have more in common than that which seeks to divide us. I have more in common with the Asian taxi driver who lives on my street, the Polish bricklayer who mends our homes, or the disabled woman who just wants meaningful work, than I have with the billionaires who control our media, or the crypto billionaires who try to influence our politics, more often than not from overseas, who wish to divide us to suit our own agenda. A divide and conquer mentality should never be allowed to take hold, especially in Pendle, which has such a good record of community cohesion, which is why I call on all elected members of this council to support this motion. Thank you.
Seconded, Councillor Hanif.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor and fellow councillors, I'm proud to second this motion. The recent stabbing incident in Bryfield is very personal to me for several reasons. I personally know both the families of the victim and the perpetrator. The incident occurred a few streets from my home, enabling me quickly to reach the site of the incident and to support and reassure the family and the community. The event caused major concerns in Bryfield, across Pendle and beyond. Whenever something like this happens, emotions naturally run high. People want answers, they want reassurance, and they want to know their communities are safe. But what was particularly disappointing was seeing how quickly false speculations began to spread. Before the facts had been established, rumours were shared, assumptions were made, and narratives were created that had little regard for the truth or the impact they could have on the people and the communities involved. From a local incident, it became national news within hours, with the focus totally changed to asylum seekers, immigration, etc. We can all gauge who instigated the false information and for what purpose, but I would not want to give them more publicity by saying the names of those organizations. The next one really concerns me. A member of the community has also informed me that she attended a Protect training the Tuesday after the incident. And this incident was discussed as terror-related. Protect has used the aerial image of the arrest of the perpetrator, and the theme relating to terrorism was that it caused terror in the community. Terrorists were living in Bryfield. This is how it was portrayed. That serves no one, and it certainly doesn't help community relations. If anything, it made an already difficult situation even worse. The need to provide factual information sensitively places a responsibility on every one of us, not just elected members, but as residents, to think before we share, to verify before we amplify, and to recognize that careless words can have real consequences. This motion is not asking anyone to ignore difficult issues. It is asking us to respond to those responsibly, to let the facts guide us, not the rumours, to show leadership than adding to division, and to remember that our words carry weight. No single organisation can achieve this alone. Strong communities are built when local authorities, emergency services, schools, faith groups, voluntary organisations, and the residents all work together with the same purpose. This is why protecting community cohesion is everyone's responsibility. Bryfield in particular, but across Pendle, this has always been a place where people from different backgrounds, cultures and faith have lived together lived alongside one another. We don't always agree on everything, and that's normally perfectly normal. But what has always defined this borough is that despite our differences, we choose to live together with respect, understanding, and a shared commitment to our communities. This is something, Mr. Mayor, worth protecting. As elected members, we have a responsibility too. There are some principles that should rise above politics. They are standing against hatred, rejecting those who seek to divide our communities, supporting truth over speculation, and working together in the best interests of the people we are elected to serve. This is exactly what the motion seeks to do. It sends a clear message that Pendle will not be defined by those who attempt to divide us. It will be defined by those who continue every single day to bring people together. Mr. Mayor, the motion is ultimately about reaffirming the kind of borough we want Pendle to be. A borough where differences are respected, where difficult moments are met with responsibility and sensitivity, and where community cohesion is not simply spoken about, but actively promoted and protected. I hope every member of the council can unite behind this motion. I'm proud to second this motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Iqbal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I'm proud to be from a very small town of Briarfield, somewhere I was born and brought up. It's a very small community, a very tight-knit community. This incident that Councillor Yvonne referred to and Councillor Hanifa referred to was an incident which shook the community to the core, because whilst it was an incident which was not what the fake news was showing online, on Twitter and on other social media groups, this was an incident where someone who had mental health problems stabbed someone who was a stranger to him. Now, it's a small community, so the victim is someone that I know the family well. It's a well-respected family of Briarfield. And the community got together to support that family. And because it was something which, as I said, shook the community, because what we had was an influx of people coming into the town and suggesting that the incident was something it wasn't. It was suggested actually at one stage that the offender was a migrant. He wasn't. He was a British Asian Asian of Asian heritage. It was then suggested on the online media that in fact the victim may have been somebody else. That I think it was suggested that it was a racist attack. That this British Asian attacked a white girl. Again, it wasn't. It was someone who was a British Asian. The victim was British Asian. Now that doesn't make a difference. Of course it doesn't. Anyone that an offence of this nature, and it was a serious offence, a serious incident, which I think many people would have seen the CCTV, which was shared quite widely online. It was quite sickening, actually, how it happened, and it was somewhere very close to where my family actually lives. And it was concerning for people, because that could have happened to anyone in Briarfield, and that could have happened to anyone, whatever their background. So I think it was very important, certainly in light of social media and how things are being portrayed these days, that we look at the facts. I watched a YouTube video again of a YouTuber that came to Briarfield. Every single thing he said was false. Where the incident happened, where the offender was from, where the victim was from, what the reason was, every single thing was false. Now, he had 100,000 views. All it takes is 100, a couple hundred people to look at that and said, actually, that must be right because this YouTuber is saying it. And we see more and more of this issue on our social media feeds. So I think it was concerning, because actually it came quite close to home. You may remember, Mr. Mayor, other councillors would have seen that there's a protest happening in Burnley the next day, and that got out of hand where the police had to get involved. And again, at that point, the police hadn't identified either the victim or the offender. They did subsequently identify the offender and the victim, and things started to calm down slightly. But if that hadn't been done, people were genuinely concerned. I was getting calls from people, I'm sure Councillor Sajja was getting calls, and we had to reassure people. We had meetings, Councillor Ashraf isn't here, we had meetings with the police. So look, the community needs some kind of reassurance, because people were genuinely scared that that protest would feed into Briarfield. and we needed to protect our community. And I'm grateful to the police, Mr. Mayor, and I want to put that on record, that they did act quickly, act swiftly, not only at the actual offence, but the subsequent events that happened afterwards. They managed it, they controlled it properly. But it's sad, isn't it, Mr. Mayor, that they have to identify the ethnicity of either the victim or the offender for matters to calm down. It shouldn't matter, and in most cases it doesn't. And this is the problem that we have these days, that everything that is bad in this country is done by immigrants, migrants, someone that perhaps looks like me. And that's a sad reality. It's sad to say that, Mr. Mayor, but that's a sad reality, that this is what's happening, and we need to confront the issue face on, Mr. Mayor, and I would therefore fully support this motion. And I think we do need to work together, not as a council, but as a community, and I would wholeheartedly support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay. Yeah. Councillor McCullough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So talking about that specific incident, when I saw the CCTV, I knew straight away that something wasn't right. Of the way it was being portrayed was completely wrong. So first thing I did was call County Councillor Stephen Atkinson, and he did some investigating, and it turns out that the gentleman is actually under the social care of LCC. So the first thing we did, rather than go on social media and play the blame game, if you will, is work with the police to make sure that he was getting the support that he needed, rather than play the blame game. And I think we've watched the same YouTube video, because I commented on it because he kept saying Burnley, and I said, no, Briarfield. He said, yeah, well, Briarfield's in Burnley. I said, no, it's not. But there was also about another 15 videos put out on YouTube of people covering the same incidents. One had over 1 million views, and people commenting just pure hatred. You know, it doesn't represent the majority, it's the minority. You know, and we're happy to support this in every single way.
Thank you. If there's no other speakers, we'll go to the vote. So there's a motion on the table, there's no amendments, so all those in favour, please show. Anybody against? That's unanimous. Thank you. The third motion is NHS Corridor Care, and Councillor Hanif.
I think all Pendle community independent councils are on holiday today. One's in Surrey, one's in Pakistan, one's in Liverpool. Mr. Bashir has just been urged to go to work. So obviously it is now my job and Yvonne's job, obviously to lead all these motions, which obviously we are looking forward to. Now, I'm going to speak off the cuff, Mr. Mayor. Now, obviously the motion is there, but I'm going to give you a live example. On the 2nd of June, Sajjad, Councillor Sajjad Ahmed, was elected as the mayor of Briarfield. And at 7:20, I got an urgent phone call from the doctor, from my GP. And that morning, we had given blood tests for one of my family members. So he rang me back, he said, the hospital's rang, you need to bring the person into the hospital emergency now. So obviously we had about 300 people as guests we were going to look after. So I said to Mr. Mayor, I said, Mr. Sorry, but our Briarfield Mayor, I said to him, listen, obviously I've got to go because this is urgent. He said, but anyway, I went. This is now how it works. I get a phone call, the hospital rang the GP rang me, we got to go urgently. I went there saying, I said to the GPS, will you write WhatsApp to me? I don't know what you asked me to do. What am I going to tell the hospital? So they told me, he wrote me a couple of paragraphs. I went in, I showed them where I needed to go. You know what they said? We have no record of your blood tests. What are you here for? I'm saying, what? Here's the text from the GP. So when they read it, they were flabbergasted. And they says, just sit here, okay? And we were sitting there for 7 hours. So I said, listen, we need a bed. The person I brought with me can't be sitting on a chair for 7 hours. It doesn't work. So after a lot of pushing and cajoling, you know, and they managed to find something to lie on for a few minutes. They then moved to another department, and we were there. Then they moved to a third department. That lasted 17 hours, okay? And I'm saying, this is emergency. We were called in as an emergency. So I said to them, listen, whatever you're doing, they took 3 times our blood, all the bloods again, and unluckily for us, there was a strike from the blood department on that day. So they couldn't do any blood tests. I said, listen, what's the way forward? He said, we'll do emergency. So the emergency will do, but not normal bloods. So anyway, they had to get new blood from Liverpool because it wasn't available in Blackburn and Burnley. I said, fine. Another 6 hours sitting there, so where's the blood? Nobody had rang Liverpool to tell them, can we have blood, please? I said, what? Sorry, well, Mr. Mayor, but what the hell is this? You know, we're sitting there and they're saying, listen, I'm going home. Okay, we're going home. But you can't. I said, I am. Because you made a city here. You haven't done anything. When everything comes into the hospital, give me a ring, I'll come back. So we went to the hospital back. They rang us, we went back to hospital. We went to the ward. They said, sorry to call you back, but the blood hasn't arrived. Can you come back in the morning? So we came home, and 7 o'clock in the morning, we had to go back to the hospital. This is the 3rd day now. This is a Tuesday when it started. This is now Friday. Okay? So the blood arrived. Now, this is the first part, is everything about the beds, sitting there, waiting, things like this, which was a shambles. Now, the second part, I've got to give all the credit to the NHS. One of my family members was admitted to the ward. It was fantastic service. Absolutely fantastic service. You can't ask for anything more. But those 2.5 days was absolutely shambles. And this is not the first time. I mean, I went to hospital 2 years ago for an emergency operation. It was absolutely emergency. They opened me up this big. But 22 hours I was sitting there waiting because they didn't know. They said, we don't have a bed. So the waiting and the corridor beds and the corridor, there's no beds there. It's literally so embarrassing. They put you in a bed, it's the corridor, you've all seen it. Everybody walking past, and they see you there, and hi, how are you doing, what are you doing here? And everybody knows. But once you go into the ward, it was totally different world we're looking at. So I saying to all the members, please support this motion. Let's get whatever betterment of the NHS we can. Let's put the pressure on as little as we can, but we've got to keep doing these things. Somewhere, some might want to listen. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Tennant.
Yeah, I'm happy to second this. For those of you that don't know, I worked for some time in A&E, but it was in Southport Infirmary, not Blackburn or Burnley. Nobody is saying that the doctors, nurses, paramedics, whatever, are acting wrongly. I think the problem comes down to where the government are putting the money into the NHS. They're investing the money in foreign data services rather than actually getting it to on the ground to get more staff, get better facilities and whatever. And this is where it's all going wrong. So I think that needs to be looked into. And I fully support this motion.
Councillor Mahmood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, just to remind you again that I do work for the local NHS Trust, so I do have that interest, but not pecuniary. Mr. Mayor, no patient should ever have to receive treatment in a hospital corridor. No member of staff should have to provide care in an environment that lacks privacy, dignity, and the facilities needed for safe clinical practice. Yet across the country, corridor care has become an increasingly visible symptom of pressures facing our NHS, and it has become the norm. Corridor care is not a solution. It is an emergency response to an emergency situation that has become all too common. When patients are treated on trolleys in corridors, they are often deprived of the privacy of one of the most vulnerable moments of their lives. sensitive conversations about diagnosis, treatment and even end-of-life care may take place in open space with other people around. Basic examinations can become difficult and maintaining dignity becomes a challenge. And there have been cases where, sadly, patients have died on the corridor without any loved one or a health professional around them just to kind of be present with them. It can also be, for staff, the situation can equally be distressing. Doctors, nurses, paramedics, healthcare assistants, therapists enter the profession to deliver high-quality care. Mr Mayor, the causes are complex, but 14 years of austerity cuts under the last government have contributed to the corridor care. Mr Mayor, over the years, thousands of hospital beds have been cut. I mean, this has been going on for about a couple of decades now. So there's this natural pressure that will arise. If you cut the number of hospital beds, obviously you have a population, general population, aging population. So it all has like a knock-on effect. But the key thing is, if you reduce the number of hospital beds, you're naturally going to have less people to kind of care within the hospital setting, and the pressure mounts. And also you need the general community setting and investment as well with the local housing side of things. Mr Mayor, generally speaking, again, patients deserve timely access to emergency treatment in appropriate clinical setting. And addressing the corridor care requires action right across the whole healthcare system. We need investment in hospital capacity where it is needed, better support for primary and community care to prevent unnecessary admissions, improved mental health services, stronger social care to enable patients to leave hospital safely when they are medically fit, and long-term workforce plan that ensures enough skilled professionals are available to meet the growing demand. So yeah, thank you, obviously, all the staff, the dedication and everything that they do within the hospital setting. It's amazing what they do, and they do make a massive difference to the quality of life and the care they provide to their patients. Mr Mayor, support the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Sutcliffe.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have no problem with the premise of this motion whatsoever. I think anyone would agree that the service of treatment and care that we receive from our doctors and nurses is always exemplary. It's to be commended. But nobody should be treated in a corridor. People should have dignity and compassion with their care as well. However, I do have a problem with your motion. Council notes the promise by the Labour government to invest in our NHS, which is yet to be seen. I quite agree. However, Council resolves to ask the Scrutiny Committee to urgently undertake a review of NHS East Lancashire Trust and invite the Chief Executive to appear in person to face questions. I think you're asking the wrong person. You're asking the Labour government to invest, and I think you should be asking the MPs to answer your questions. I think they're the ones that have got something to answer for, and they're the ones that have got the power to do something. So I'd like to offer a friendly amendment, if you would, that you also write to the MPs on this matter and ask them to answer questions about the investment, because this is not about care. We know that the care's there, we know that it's right, but the promise of investment isn't, and the people who can do that are the MPs. So are you happy to, I think Councillor Henney's smiling and nodding. So with that in mind and with that accepted, I'll happily support the motion as it stands then. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Lord.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. First of all, before I make a comment about this, this is one of the first times that I've heard everything in a meeting. And that is thank you to these two lads here who immediately saw that I needed help. They didn't come and ask me, they just did it. Nobody on this council has ever helped me. So thank you to them. Right, and I didn't realise that the leader of the council had such a booming voice. he almost deafened me. The corridor care, I've been in that position and I've spoke about it in this council, and I spent 31 hours at the beginning of the year on the corridor at Blackburn. Now, I went in with chest pains a couple of months ago. I left it from Friday to Monday morning because I didn't want to be stuck like that. So I rang them and the 111, and they said we're going to send an ambulance immediately, which they did within half an hour. It turned out I had a torn muscle. But when I got there, I thought I was in a different county, never mind a different hospital. I was taken immediately to a bay. 10 minutes after somebody came in and said, would you like a cup of coffee? Yes, please, you know. Blood test done, this, that and the other. I then was taken to this room, ward, which had about 8-10 beds in, and it was new. It was an old ward, but they'd done it up, and I cannot remember what it was called. It was something and something, which isn't very helpful. But that's what it was. Proper beds, proper doctors, proper nurses, proper meals, and they did all the work in there. Now that was within a couple of hours of arriving at the hospital. Next door was an x-ray room. I went in there and had an x-ray. And then I was discharged and they realised what it was. And it was just incredible. During that time, we actually went down the corridor that everybody else and myself spent hours and hours on, and it was completely empty. Nothing there. They'd even taken the numbers off the walls that were representing the beds that were there. So I think it's good that this amendment, this motion has been put forward so that we don't sit on our laurels and let this reoccur again, that we're on the ball with it, that we've got our eye on it. Thank you. And I support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Lord. Councillor McCullum.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So this motion was, it came to us at LCC earlier on this afternoon. It was actually County Councillor Azhar Ali that brought it forward. And County Councillor Daniel Matchett, who's part of the Cabinet for Health, he has rejigged Lancashire's Health and Wellbeing Board, and he has now got commitment from every health organisation in Lancashire to send their CEOs to attend that Lancashire Health and Wellbeing Board to be questioned and scrutinised on this particular issue. So hopefully something good comes out of that. I mean, I'm not on that board, so I can't really say, but I'll keep everyone updated.
Councillor Warrington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to support the motion of Councillor Aneath and the amendment from Councillor Sutcliffe. I've actually encountered what Dorothy's gone through with my own mother, and what I found quite disturbing was I was with my mother till 4 o'clock in the morning, and we was told we could go home because she's actually going up to a ward. So me and my wife went home, and when I asked my sister-in-law at the time how she's settling in, because she was moved up onto the ward, we got told they didn't actually move her until dinner time. So she'd been on there quite a few hours. But no disrespect to yourself, but there is a wider implication on this, which hasn't been mentioned yet. And that's basically all these beds that have been taken up on corridor are actually hampering the ambulances that's arriving at Blackburn, because they cannot discharge any patient from that ambulance into the hospital until there is space, which then has the consequences of other people losing their lives because nothing is being done. They're just sitting on the hands and doing nothing. Personally, my own opinion, we should be bringing back A&E at Burnley. Blackburn cannot cope under any circumstances. I will never go to Blackburn. But like I say, I'd like to support your motion.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? No. Okay. So in terms of what we've been asked to do as a council is to ask the Scrutiny Committee to undertake this review. Just like to ask Councillor Church, as chairman of the Scrutiny Committee, would he be okay with that, to take that challenge on?
I'm agreeable to that entirely, Chairman.
That's great. Thank you very much. So if there's no other speakers, we'll go straight to the vote. So we're clear on what we're voting for, just including the MPs in being asked to answer questions. Okay. So all those in favour, please show. Against? Nobody. So that's unanimous. That's good. Now we're on to the last item, which is the emergency motion, and that's Councillor Chris Church. Please. Could you please read out the motion, please, Councillor Church? Would you read out the motion as well, please?
Yes, I will do. Thank you, and thank you for allowing the motion. It is that Council congratulates His Majesty's Government on spending millions of pounds and many months on consultation over local government reorganisation, only to come up with the one option that most of us suspected they wanted right from the start. Further move that Council now greets our neighbours and future colleagues with the hope that we can all join together and make the best that we can of the situation we find ourselves in. I will be very brief because it's gone on long enough. I don't intend to add another half an hour to it. But I must just very briefly point out that we've heard the excellent debate on the issues of the proposed planning reforms on the same day that we hear this announcement on a matter which was originally sold to us in the name of devolution and greater local representation. I move. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Susan Land.
Thank you. I don't want to add anything to that. I'd just like to second the motion, please.
Thank you. Any speakers? No? Okay. Councillor Iqbal.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, I want to put a call out and suggest that the MP for Pendle, the MP for Burnley and Brighfield should resign. The reason I say that is because what's the point of having a Labour MP, their government, they want this, or they didn't want this, the council doesn't want this, the residents don't want this. Who actually wants these reforms? The reforms that have actually been rubber stamped, nobody wanted. We wanted Rosendale, Burnley, Pendle. So we have Sarah Smith, Hindburn, Labour. We have Jonathan Hinder, Pendle, Labour. Oliver Ryan, Labour. Then we have Andy McNay in Rosendale, again, Labour. The only one that's not there is Blackburn MP, he's a good friend of mine, he's an independent MP. But you've got 4 MPs, all of them suggested a different model. The government goes against every single MP. I'm not sure what the view of the other side of the South Lancashire MPs are, but I suspect it'd be the similar position. So whose benefit are they doing this for? Whose views have they taken into account? When this came on the council, Mr Mayor, Councillor David Whip was here and we discussed this, and I said at that stage that I supported that model of the 3 councils of Pendle, Burnley, Rosendale, and I said at that stage, and I think many others did, that it's a good proposition, but it'll never be implemented because it's not something the government wanted. As Councillor Church has just said, this is something that this government has wanted from day one. So I asked myself, and I asked the people of this borough and Burnley and other areas to ask themselves, what is the point of having an MP that is part of the government if they can't influence a decision like this? Because we heard in a debate in Parliament only this week that they then reaffirmed that position again to the Minister. It seems that the Minister doesn't really care about, one, I think, this council, the people of this area, and the views of their own MPs. So it's going to get ratified by Parliament, I think, sometime towards the end of this year. But let's be honest, I'd be shocked if the government then reverses that decision. Again, I fully support this. What a complete waste of time, what a complete waste of money. I personally was in favour of reorganisation, but this is not any better than what we have already, because we will be eaten up by the bigger councils, because we are the furthest council in this new Pennine, Lancashire, I think is the new terminology. It will be no different to what we are with Lancashire. Lancashire, in my view, I know it's now reform-led, historically hasn't really given enough resources to this area, and we always seem to be the bottom of the pecking order, and I can't see that changing in the future. So I support this, and if the government actually spent all the money they've spent, all this consultation, they could have spent it on something else, because let's be honest, this decision was made well before today. It was made well before the consultations, and they wasted all of our times. And I said this a year ago, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor Sutcliffe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't be supporting this motion, but I won't be against it either. I will be abstaining. And the reason being is that because it says Council congratulates Her Majesty's Government, and I'm sorry, I can't congratulate this government. I just can't. I can't bring myself to do that. Even sarcastically, I can't do that. Now, if Councillor Iqbal, you'd have put half of your wording into any of this motion, I think I probably would have found myself to support it, because I echo quite a bit of your sentiment about this, about the outcome of the consultations and the outcome of the government's decisions, and ultimately it is the outcome of the government's decision. I don't think they really took much notice of what we wanted. So I will be making friends across boundaries. I always have. I will be saying hello to my colleagues and friends in other authorities. I always have. And so I don't need a motion to tell me to do that, but I certainly will not be congratulating this government.
Thank you. Councillor McCullum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, to be honest, the whole thing has been a complete and utter shambles, hasn't it? I mean, they've wasted all this money on consultations to basically go against what everyone said in the first place. And just to put it, and it wasn't in the manifesto either, so they didn't campaign for it. They didn't say they was going to do it. They just sneaked it in once they got voted in. Which,
so many other things.
Yeah, which is completely unfair. I'd just like to mention what I found out today of County Councillor Stephen Atkinson, the leader of LCC. So he's had a meeting with a Labour MP. That Labour MP has turned around and told him categorically there is no money for Lancashire. So we are being left on our own. So there's no transitional money for this LGR, and that's what Stephen's been told by Labour, by a Labour MP. So, I mean, make of that what you will, whether the Labour MP is just trying to rattle our cages, well, they're good at that as it is, but it's completely and utterly appalling what they've done. And well, I can't even say any more words. It's frustrating, so frustrating.
Thank you. Councillor Mahmood. I'm sure maybe he's got some secret information where the money is.
I wish I did, Mr. Mayor. We will be very rich, and we won't be going through this process if that was the case. You know, we agree in principle. We've always said that in principle we do agree with you know, local government reorganisation, because because it brings the benefits for Pendle, you know, with economic growth, the housing, potential for the infrastructure that's much needed at this end of the county. You know, Pendle, Burnley and Rosendale would be the ideal kind of combination, but you know, we are where we are, and I think we've got to move forward. And I think I've always said, probably in private conversation, the Speaker of the House of Parliament is a very strong, powerful position, and he's had probably the the most, most influence, if you will. Because I think to my knowledge, I think there originally would have been 3 authorities for Lancashire in the LGR, but because of the strong lobbying from Speaker of the House, Lindsay Hoyle, we have 4. But we tried our best. We put a very strong case on our behalf, on behalf of the people of Pendle. It was a very strong case, but it never, obviously the government has decided against it. But, there is, with the transition side of things, there is money there. I think there's £4.2 million that is available. And I think that Steve Reid, again, within his letter that came to me as leader and also the chief executive, again, reiterates that the money will be made available to kind of to help with the transition into the new authority. So we will continue to work with all our colleagues right across the board, whether that is mostly councillors, officers, and to do the best for our people. And it's we've got to think about the staff as well. And thank them for all their hard work, and we continue to work with them and keep them communication-wise, keep them updated of through the whole process. I think initially a lot of the changes most likely will happen at the very top level, more of the chief executive level, and then no doubt 4, 5, 6 years down the line they'll be like wherever. But the key thing is we will still require the services. You still need that the resources, the physical resources by staff at local level. And no doubt, there will be transfer of staffing from Lancashire County Council to within the new authorities as well. So, there's lots of big changes, but we've got to be positive, and we've got to just fight, and get ahead of the game, get the right team in place to do the best for us here in Pendle and obviously the new organisation as a whole.
Anybody else? No? Okay, Councillor Iqbal.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, I want to speak again to move an amendment. By the way, I'm liking the fact there's no lights, so I'm not sure if they're working or not, but... timing. Mr Mayor, sorry, I was going to move an amendment after what Councillor Ash Sutcliffe said, and I think he makes a valid point, because although this is a well-written motion, obviously it was a motion which would have been submitted at some point this afternoon. I think it doesn't actually, it says that Council now greets our neighbours and future colleagues, and I think that just goes without saying. Can I suggest that we move a resolution in there that we write to the local communities minister, and I think, is that the appropriate minister? Yeah, local communities minister, to reconsider the position, because of course this still needs to be voted by Parliament. I've said that it will probably be rubber stamped by the MPs, the Labour MPs, but can I suggest that we write to the local communities minister to suggest, to make our views known to the local communities minister that this council is against, and we ask her to reconsider the position.
Is there a seconder? Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, that's fine. I'll second that. Yeah, that's been seconded. Thank you. Okay, so we've got an amendment on the table, so we'll take the amendment first. All those in favour of the amendment, please show. Against?
That becomes a substantive motion.
So that's carried. So that becomes a substantive motion. So all those in favour of Councillor Iqbal's motion, please show. Against? That's carried. Okay. So that's fine. That's the last item on the agenda. Thank you, councillors. Have a safe journey home.